And as discussed in the Marketing and Audiobooks Wide group, I have brought Evan from StoryOrigin in today to talk to us. And I know a lot of you guys are interested in this. I know a lot of you messaged me that you're going to catch the replay because you're not able to join us live. So we are recording this for all of you who aren't able to join us. This is Evan Gow from StoryOrigin. So Evan, welcome. We're so happy that you're here.
Howdy. Thank you for having me on.
Yes. So I talk about StoryOrigin with so many people in the Marketing and Audiobooks Wide group. There are a lot of things that you can do with StoryOrigin, so I'm going to ask you to tell us about that. The one thing that I talk about the most is how it has helped me build my wide audio review team, which is so awesome because a lot of places are only focused on ACX reviews. So it's perfect for our group where all of us are wide audio authors. So I just find it extremely valuable. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But before we dive into that, if you want to just tell me a little bit about yourself and why you created StoryOrigin and what StoryOrigin is.
Yeah, sure. So, as you mentioned, my name is Evan Gow. I'm the founder of StoryOrigin. It's a marketing platform for authors to help them build their mailing lists, find reviewers. Like you said, you've been doing a lot with it, increase sales, run cross promotions, a bunch of different stuff. So I got started building StoryOrigin almost 7 years ago now. I used to write short stories back in high school, got interested in tech and entrepreneurship in college, worked for a few years, and then wanted to get back into writing and build tools for writers at the same time. And so after I left my job, I went and I talked to a bunch of authors about what tools they were using and what might be helpful to me on my journey. And I heard from authors, I use this service for building my mailing list. I use this service for finding reviewers. I use some combination of, Google Forms and Facebook groups to arrange newsletter swaps with other authors. I have this other service for setting up universal book links. I have a spreadsheet that I use to keep track of the audiobook promo codes I've distributed and follow up with my reviewers. And I have a spreadsheet for tracking my daily word count. And I have this other
Yeah,
service
it's
for
so
building my.
much.
I was like, okay, I get it. You have like five different services, like 8 spreadsheets. You're constantly doing all this context switching between what is my marketing task for the day, or what am I trying to accomplish right now? Like, oh, I have to log in there and my password, I forgot my password. So it's just
Yes,
a lot
yes.
to deal with. And so I then was like, okay, so I want to build one thing that does it all. And I think had I told you at the time that I would do that, you would have said, Evan, I don't believe you. And that's like the nicest possible way you probably would have said that. Um,
Nice.
and so yeah, here we are. Like I said, like 7 years later, StoryOrigin does all the stuff that I just talked about, plus a lot more. And so yeah, that's why I set out to build StoryOrigin. And doing all of that, of course, took up 100% of my time. So I did not get back into writing the way that I had originally planned. I now just spend 100% of my time writing software, which I enjoy a lot. So that is great for me.
As long as you enjoy it, that's great,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
That's all that matters. So that's excellent. I mean, I think it's awesome. Anything that can make authors' lives easier, as you said, like there's just so much to do. So anything that can streamline things and make things easier is very helpful. So yeah. So what I would really like to do. Yeah, I think a lot of people in our group are not familiar with StoryOrigin. So I'd really like. So I have some questions that the group submitted that I would like to ask you. But before we do that, I think I would just like to sort of have you show us StoryOrigin and like different things that can be done on the site, especially things that are tailored toward wide audiobooks. And you had just showed me some stuff before we hopped on that I didn't even know was on the site. So if you're willing to do that, I think that what I'll do is real quick, I'll show everyone my StoryOrigin site so that people can see that. So let me pull that up. And then I'll show people how I have my Story Origin site set up to do wide audio reviews, and then I'll give it over to you so that you can also share your screen and show everyone the bells and whistles, which is really exciting. So, okay, so for me, this is my dashboard, and this is for me. Let me just. Why is this? Sorry. Okay, so I for my wide audiobooks, I have a lot of wide audiobooks. I have them listed here with my audio review codes. So you allow Spotify codes, Kobo codes, ACX codes. I think those are the
And
three, right? That you guys
audiobooks.com.
and audiobooks.com. Okay.
Yep.
So anyone here who has codes through any of those companies, you can offer them through Story Origin. So you can see here on my this is, for example, this is book one in my Romantasy series. I have this publicly listed. So if a reader or listener was to come on the site and look, they could find this there. And then um, there is a link to my, just hide this, um, hold on one second, sorry. A link to my audiobook. And so you can see here, I can customize how this, so you can see here, book one in the sizzling enemies to lovers saga. I've entered in all this information so that everyone can see sort of what the book is about. And then if people want to request, they just request an audiobook review copy. And they sort of have to tell me what sites do they intend to leave their review on. And you can see here, I have all of them selected because I really want to make sure that I get as many wide reviews as possible. So this is a great way to sort of vet your reviewers and see, um, if they're willing to leave reviews on multiple sites. So that's just a quick overview of my screen and what I use Story Origin for. So on that note, since you created this, maybe you could share your screen with us and kind of show us some, I don't know, wherever you want to start, some things
Yeah.
that can help us with wide audio.
Yeah, sure. So I'll go ahead and start sharing my screen. So I'm here on just storyoriginApp.com is where you can find Story Origin. This is just the home page. So if you want to learn more about Story Origin, like I said, Story Origin does a lot of stuff. So under this consolidate and simplify section, you'll see, get more reviews for ebooks or audiobooks, gather and manage beta reader feedback, build your mailing list, increase book sales with universal links, word count tracking, build your complete author website, sell ebooks direct to readers the easy way, and then arrange cross promotions with authors via newsletter swaps or group promos as well. So you can click on any one of these things. Since you were just talking about getting more reviews for your books, I'm going to go ahead and click on this section. And you can read snippets from other authors that have used these features, learn a little bit more about the specifics of those features. And then, like you were showing, when readers submit where they intend to review, they would just hit those checkboxes for where they intend to leave a review, and then leave the link to their reviewer profile from those platforms, if for Amazon or Goodreads or BookBub, where you can then also go check out their reviewer profile as well and see, okay, I write romance, and this person has only ever reviewed like sci-fi or something like this. So even if they're requesting a code from me, like maybe my book cover for some reason made it seem more sci-fi than it did romance or something like that, right? Like that'd probably be a difficult one to like do, but like maybe you write cozy romance and like this person has only ever reviewed steamy romance, and something about your cover maybe gave off steamy romance vibes or something along those lines. You wouldn't necessarily want to accept that person and give them a promo code, because you don't want them to be disappointed by that story and then feel like they ought to leave a review for something that you think that they're not going to like, right? So you can go and you can check out their review profiles, and then you can also see completion stats. So when they request a promo code from you or review copy, so this works for, I know we're talking about audiobooks for the most part, but this also works for ebooks as well. Um, and so when they a request from you, you can see how many review copies or audiobook promo codes they've been approved for in the past. And if they have been approved for 20 audiobook promo codes, you can see that they've completed reviews for 19 out of those 20. Well, you can be relatively confident that they're actually going to go and leave a review after they've downloaded and listened to your audiobook. And since you generally have a limited number of those codes, making sure that those codes go to people who are actually going to leave reviews is quite important. So
Yes.
that is sort of the vetting side of the reviewer's profile. And this screenshot here is also just what that would look like as well. So here in this little screenshot, you can click on their Amazon link for their reviewer profile. You can see what percentage of them they've completed review fors. And then you can also see other applications to other of their review copies that they have requested from you. So if you have a 3 or 4 book audiobook series, you'll see all the other audiobooks that they've requested from you in the past and whether or not they completed those processes. So at a quick glance, you can be like, oh, I gave a code to this person for books in 1 and 2, and they never completed their review for it. And now they're requesting book 3. I'm not going to approve this person. Um, and so, yeah, just another good way to vet potential audiobook reviewers. And then on the tracking side, after you've approved them, if you approve them, you are always in the driver's seat when it comes to who you want to be on your review team. So StoryOrigin is unlike a lot of other review platforms in that the author is always in the driver's seat about who they approve and decline to join their review team. Other review platforms generally just, it's like if they have a review completion rate of X%, then they get whatever thing they apply for. With StoryOrigin, you get to do that vetting yourself and choose your own risk tolerance level. Um, so if and when you approve them, StoryOrigin will let them know that they can go and get the code now. And then they get a review process page where they would then leave their review on StoryOrigin. And then it makes it super easy for them to copy that review that they left on StoryOrigin. And the review they leave on StoryOrigin is just private. That's just between you and them. So that doesn't go anywhere else. They would then copy that review and post it over to Amazon or Goodreads or BookBub or Kobo or wherever other places that they said they would leave a review when they initially requested that promo code from you. And so StoryOrigin, you can see in this little screenshot here, this is just a little snippet of a table where you would see the timeline for when you approved them for that promo code, the times that they left their review and submitted their links for it. And StoryOrigin will also automatically follow up with the reviewers if they have not completed that review process within 2 weeks. So StoryOrigin will send them a reminder email. That doesn't show up in this timeline because this reviewer completed it before that 2 week time frame. But if they were past that 2 week time frame, you would see in this timeline that StoryOrigin had sent them a reminder email saying, "Hey, don't forget, you got this code, and you can go and download it here and all of this stuff." Last thing that's sort of a part of this is you can also make your review copies discoverable through StoryOrigin as well. So you can list your ebooks or your audiobooks in the directory of ebooks and audiobooks on StoryOrigin. And I could click these links to go here, but I'll also show you where readers would usually find that as they just come to storyoriginapp.com. They see this here for free audiobooks or ebooks or audiobooks. And I'll click on this audiobooks one. And so you can see here, this is the list, this is the directory of audiobooks that I could search through. And I could go ahead and add various tags to find, what I'm looking for as a reader. And I could subscribe to those tags so I could get a weekly notification of any new audiobooks that have been added to the directory in the past week that are that match my filters. And I think another important thing to note there is even though your ebook or audiobook is listed in the public directory, you, the author, are still in control of who you approve and decline for your review team for that book. So they would still submit that request. They would go to the directory, find a book they like, submit that request, and then and then you, the author, would get that request, and you can approve or decline it based on, again, like looking at the reviewer profile, completion stats, etc. Now, I generally say that you should not depend solely on listing your ebook or your audiobook in the public directory as your main method of finding reviewers. Your main method of finding reviewers should always be your own mailing list, because those people that subscribe to your mailing list are going to generally be your best reviewers because they actually have a sort of a relationship with you, right? When you're sending out your newsletters and you're talking about, oh, I was walking my dog this week and this is something that happened and here's a picture of me walking my dog and blah 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 blah. Like they get to know you as a human being, which makes them substantially more likely to leave a review. And then they are generally also just familiar with your other works, right? They're on your mailing list, so they're familiar with your other works, which means that they like you enough to be on your mailing list, and they are familiar with your genre and what you write. So they're generally just a better reviewer than a someone who may have never read any of your other books before. So I always recommend start with building a mailing list before you just going solely focused on reviews. Doesn't mean you can't, but you will be much more successful if you start building your mailing list. And you can start building your review team in tandem with building that mailing list as well. Generally, what I recommend to authors is start building your mailing list. And then in your welcome sequence, where you say, like, hey, thanks for joining my mailing list. That might be one of your emails. You might have a second email in your welcome sequence that's like, oh, here's a little bit about me and who I am and what I write. You might have another email in that welcome sequence, which is like, promoting whatever reader magnet or free story they got from you when they signed up to your mailing list, because this is like a common tactic. You give someone a free story when they sign up to your mailing list, and so you might try and write an email to entice them to actually get started reading, because lots of readers have a to be read list that is like 200 books long. And so just
Yes.
because they got a free book from you does not mean that they have read it.
Right.
So you want to entice them to actually get started reading. And so for like the last email in your welcome sequence, I usually recommend saying something like, do you want to get all of my books free forever? And so there, what you would do is then invite them to become a reviewer for you. And so you put the building your review team sort of on autopilot. As you're building your mailing list, people are going through that welcome sequence, seeing that call to action to join your review team, and then joining your review team. And that's just sort of on autopilot as you're building your mailing list as well. And so I'll just briefly mention if I'm so again, I'll go back to the homepage, storyoriginApp.com. I'm just gonna hit the drop down because I'm already logged in, go to for authors. So if I'm looking to build my mailing list, I would probably just go to this build mailing list text box, and that'll give you a checklist of steps and what to do and all that stuff. It just says go here, do this, go here, do that, go here, do that, and you will be ahead of 90% of authors in terms of building your mailing list. So that is where I would get started with that. Turning our attention back to more uh, audiobooks specifically and marketing audiobooks wide, one of the best ways to market your audiobooks or market your books in general is to do cross promotions with other authors. And it is a quickly growing thing in the author community to do cross promotion because it is free, it is easy, and it is targeted. So what do I mean by that? It's free. When you and I agree to promote each other's books, like I'll agree to promote one of your books in one of my upcoming newsletters if you agree to promote one of my books in one of your upcoming newsletters. We don't have to pay each other to do that, right? We are just agreeing that we will promote each other's books. I'm just going to drop the link to your next book into your book into my newsletter. And so that's what I mean when it's easy as well. You don't have to figure out any sort of complicated ads dashboard or targeting or bidding strategies or ad copy or graphic
Right.
assets, all that stuff, which is really time consuming and challenging
Yes.
to learn when you're getting started on like AMS ads or Facebook ads or any of that stuff. So this is a very simple method to get started with. That's not to say that you should not do Facebook ads or AMS ads or anything along those lines. Those are still a key and vital part of many, many successful authors' toolkits for advertising their books. But generally speaking, cross promotion is an easy one to get started with, especially if you're just dipping your feet into marketing. And it will be it can help scale with you through your author career, because as you're growing your mailing list, that is like just one of the most important assets you have as an author is your mailing list. Um,
Definitely. And I think that's great also for authors, you know, when they're just starting out, also there's so much to do and it's intimidating to start a mailing list. So it's nice that you sort of have that broken, you have steps that people can follow, which is especially for newer authors, which is nice. And then also we got some feedback in the chat that from Rebecca that says, I like that it has that everything has more detail than just genres. So when you're able to list your book, that you've got a lot of different tags and different things as a, you know, instead of just having the genres, which is nice. So that's good feedback for sure.
Yeah, and so we can go there as well. Like, so when I go to browse newsletter swaps and I'm looking for other authors to run cross promotions with, I can look for, let's say I write romance. I can add romance. Like that as a category though is super duper large. So I
Right.
might want to specify like I'm looking for cozy romance, right? And so then these are all the dates that other authors that use the cozy and romance tags on their newsletters. And these are the dates that they are sending their newsletters out, the size of the mailing lists, etc. And then I could just click on any one of these and request a newsletter swap with them. Um, and the way that works is basically you would go to that date and say, here, I would like you to promote this book of mine, and I'll promote this book of yours. And the date that I'm sending my newsletter out is, in 2 weeks or whatever. And you just submit that request through StoryOrigin, and then the author that receives that request can either approve or decline that newsletter swap, based on whether or not they think that it is a good fit for their newsletter. And so, yeah, you can promote with these cross promotions with newsletter swaps or group promos. I'll just quickly mention what group promo is. A group promo is where you, me, and let's say 20 other authors, we all list our books on a single landing page, and then we all drive traffic to that single landing page that has all of our books listed there. So it's a little bit different from a newsletter swap where I'm just putting like a link to your book in my newsletter and I'm just promoting just your book. A group promo, usually I'll take the banner image from the landing page and I'll put that in my newsletter and then embed the link to that landing page in that banner image. And so when readers click on that banner image, it'll take them to the landing page that has all of our books listed there. So these cross promotions, newsletter swaps, and group promos, they can be used to promote your reader magnets. So those would help you build your mailing list, or they can be used to promote your review copies, or your audiobook promo codes, or your universal book links, or your universal audiobook links. So you can really target what specifically you're looking to do. Am I looking to specifically grow my audiobook sales in particular? Like if I have a new release, like let's say, I released the ebook 2 months ago and I ran some cross promotions to promote that ebook, and now my audiobook is coming out this week. And so I want to really drive traffic to the audiobook, which is now released. I will go to StoryOrigin and I would go to this Universal Audiobook Links tab. I'd hit Add Universal Audiobook Link, put in the title, your pen name, upload the cover for it, add the tags for it. And then you can put in the Audible links, your Amazon link, Apple, Google Play, Barnes& and Noble, Kobo, Chirp, audiobooks.com, Downpour, Everend, it used to be Scribd, now it's Everend, Spotify, your YouTube link. And then you can also put in your direct sales store link. So if you sell direct via your own website, you can put that into your universal book link on StoryOrigin as well. And so, yeah, that would then create, I don't have any universal audiobook link set up on my account, but I do have a universal book link set up on my account. And so I will show you quickly what that looks like. So here is my universal book link. So this is, everything on my account I do like is Sherlock Holmes because it's public domain. um, and so it, here it's showing my book cover and then it says the available stores. And so if this was my audiobook, I could also have like my direct sale store might be a button here if I'm selling direct, or I might have like the YouTube link. You get to choose whatever links you want to add, and then just the links that you add will show up there. And
That's really
so,
great that you have
yeah,
YouTube, because we have a lot of authors that are publishing audiobooks on YouTube now, especially in our group because it's wide. So that's awesome. And then, yeah, being able, that was a question we got a lot is can you have a direct store link to your audiobook? So that's awesome because a lot of authors in our group are selling direct now. So it's great to see both of those offered in the universal link.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So you can then set up newsletter swaps or group promos to promote your universal audiobook links. So when you go to arrange a newsletter swap with someone, the other thing I'll mention is like a lot of times I'll get questions from authors who have never like done newsletter swaps before, and they think like, oh, if I want to promote my audiobook, then I need to find other authors looking to promote their audiobooks. You don't have to do that, right? So when you're setting up a newsletter swap with another author, you can agree to promote one of their reader magnets or one of their review copies, and you can ask them to promote your universal audiobook link. So you don't need to be promoting the same type of book. You can be promoting, you can each, you can choose what it is that you want to be promoted.
Yeah,
And so,
that's
yeah,
great. Yeah. That's a great point because there are some authors that only have ebooks, they don't have audiobooks yet, but they're willing to swap an audiobook with you in their newsletters. So I do that all the
exactly.
time when I set up newsletter swaps. I'll just ask the author, can I give you an audiobook link, a universal audiobook link? And they say, yeah, sure, no problem. So even though I'm featuring their ebooks. So yeah, that's a really good point.
Right. Yep.
Definitely.
And
Um,
the other thing that I'll mention as well, which is important to audiobook, like wide audiobook authors, is well, if you're exclusive to Audible, you get this like nice, series page that just has all of your books in order and all of that stuff. But if you're wide and you want to be promoting your series as a whole to your own audience, like you don't want to just be promoting your Audible series page, right?
right.
Um, so you have two options is like one is you build your own website and you build your own series page, and that can be a lot of work. Or you could use StoryOrigin has a book collections feature. So I can create a book collection, and I'll show you a book collection here that has all of your audiobooks listed. Now, again, I don't have any universal audiobook links set up on my account. So this is a series page where I've got all of my universal book links listed. And so this is, I've got book one, book two, book three, book four, etc. And so when a reader goes and clicks on one of these links, they would see, oh, sorry. So this is actually for this was not set up with universal book links. So it was set up with the direct sale ebook feature. So you can actually also set up direct sale ebook pages on StoryOrigin. And so a reader could like click this button and they could buy this book direct from you on StoryOriginApp.com. They would just put in their name and credit card information, or they can pay with PayPal, etc. And you can also list the other retailers where that book is available if they don't want to buy direct from you. But if they do buy direct from you, StoryOrigin handles like the ebook file delivery for that. So that's
That's
that's not
great.
really that's not so much the point here, but that you can create these series pages on StoryOrigin, and they could be for your universal audiobook link pages. And so when a reader would click here, it would take them to that page like the universal book link page that says it's available from Audible here and from Kobo here and from on YouTube or from your direct store, etc. And so just having a really nice, simple way to create those series pages that look nice and aren't going to require, 10 hours of work to build your own page on your own
Yes.
website or hire someone to do it for you, which gets really expensive really quickly, all that
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, it
So,
makes it easy. Yeah. And so now, and to go back to what you were talking about when we were talking about the different types of codes that you accept. So if people watching this don't know, and we talk about this a lot in the group, but if you're with Findaway Spotify, you get codes through Spotify. You get review codes for your audiobooks. You can also email writinglife@kobo.com to get Kobo codes. And then I think the audiobooks.com ones come from Authors Republic, I believe, if you distribute through. I don't distribute through them, but I believe that's right. Right.
Yeah, if you distribute through Authors Republic, you would be able to get audiobooks.com promo codes.
Yeah.
And if you publish if you use a production house for doing your audiobooks rather than hiring your own narrator, usually these production houses also will be able to give you codes, usually either from Kobo or from audiobooks.com.
Very nice. Okay, so let me look. Yeah, I did have some people send us some questions. Let me just make sure. So we talked about direct store review links, which is amazing. We talked about creating universal book links. And then so one of the other questions was, will Story Origin ever allow us to upload and distribute audiobooks to our review teams instead of having to use a code from a retailer? So do you have any plans on that, or what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, certainly adding support for delivering audiobook files is definitely on the to-do list.
Okay, cool. Very cool. And yeah, I know a lot of people, as people grow in their direct stores and they use different platforms, I mean, it seems like you can sell directly from Story Origin, which is great. You guys work with Lemon Squeezy, right?
Yeah, so Lemon Squeezy acts as the payment processor for the transaction. Story Origin handles creating the landing page for the book and then delivering the ebook file to the reader and handling any tech support issues if that reader runs into any trouble with getting that ebook onto whatever their preferred reading device is. Lemon Squeezy would be the one that actually processes the payment, and um, the way that that works is you would just set up your Lemon Squeezy account, and then you go over to StoryOrigin and you can integrate StoryOrigin with your Lemon Squeezy account. So I'll just go ahead and I'll share that real quick. So you would just go down to integrations. You would go down to this integrations tab and you would go down to add payment platform and you could add your Lemon Squeezy account. Now, a, a common question I get here is like, why Lemon Squeezy? Well, Lemon Squeezy is just the first payment processor that StoryOrigin integrates with. I have plans to add additional payment processors down the lines, but Lemon Squeezy was the first payment processor that I decided to add potential integrations for, because Lemon Squeezy acts as the merchant of record for you as the author. That means when you make a sale of a book, to anyone in Europe, usually you are on the hook for collecting and remitting VAT tax. Now, for those authors that are unfamiliar with VAT tax, it's basically the equivalent to a sales tax, or what we would call a sales tax in the US. So if you make a sale on the first sale of anything you make in any country in the EU, you are liable for collecting and remitting VAT tax. And Lemon Squeezy acts as the merchant of record, though. So they will then become the one that is liable for collecting and remitting that sales tax or that VAT tax for you. So it significantly simplifies your life as an author. Because if you're doing this through Shopify or Stripe or a lot of other sort of, direct payment processor sort of platforms, they are not acting as the merchant of record for you. So the second you make a sale in any one of those countries, you have to get registered, and you have to
Yes,
file
I know
like
that very
quarterly
well.
taxes,
Yeah,
and you have to track all this stuff, and it is not easy.
it's a
Um,
lot.
it is a lot, right? And so if someone can take that off your plate, that is fantastic. So Lemon Squeezy does that. And you might be thinking, okay, is this going to cost me like an arm and a leg here? No, Lemon Squeezy's pricing is actually quite great. So they will charge generally a 50 cent plus 5% transaction processing fee. So if you look at like Stripe or Shopify, usually their payment processing fees are 30 cents plus 2.9%. But again, they are not handling any of that sales or VAT tax
Right.
compliance for you. And the other thing is, if you integrate your Lemon Squeezy account with StoryOrigin, I've negotiated a deal on behalf of authors on StoryOrigin to get you discounted pricing so that Lemon Squeezy transaction processing fee drops from 50 cents plus 5% to just 30 cents plus 5%.
Right. Which is
So
awesome. Yeah.
yeah. So it is really not is the incremental 2.1% sort of transaction processing fee is usually worth it to remove that headache of dealing with compliance of sales taxes across the world, because even every state has different sales tax rates, right? And different you
Yes.
become liable for collecting and remitting sales tax in different states at different like either sales volumes or sales amounts in dollars, etc. It's really a huge headache to deal with.
Yeah, it's a lot to keep up with. And what I heard that is Stripe, did Stripe purchase Lemon Squeezy, or are they integrating, or like will that change anything, or do you know anything about that or not?
So yes, Stripe acquired Lemon Squeezy several months ago. And I have not heard anything from them in terms of any changes that they are making to their platform because of that. Um, other than that, I believe recently, so when Lemon Squeezy does payouts to authors, I believe they can now charge less. So like when you collect sales as an author via Lemon Squeezy, they'll do payouts again. Like I'm not Lemon Squeezy support here, so so please check the docs on me and check the facts. I think they'll do payouts like either once a week or once a month or something like that. And you can have that money sent to whatever bank account you want it sent to. Um, and they recently reduced the fees on the payout of that money because they have to process that payment as well. And now that Stripe acquired them, they can actually reduce that amount. So those payouts just got a little bit cheaper because of the Stripe acquisition.
Okay, good. All right, so that's good. So for anyone out there who like maybe hasn't built a direct store yet, or is, just looking to maybe get into it and try it out, it seems like this is a great way to sort of dip your toe in and start to try it out and start to sell directly to your readers and listeners and, see how it works. So, which is great. Um, okay, so now I want to circle back on just to give people who are watching some context on the universal links and on the listing to your audiobooks on Story Origin. So you were talking about using your mailing list to share that link to your audiobook review codes, which is an excellent idea, and everyone should absolutely do that. I just wanted to give people some other ideas about how I share my review link on Story Origin. So whenever I'm releasing a new trilogy in audio right now. So books 1 and 2 are out. Book 3 will hopefully be done next week. I don't know. My narrator and I were it's getting there. But anyway, so as soon as I have all 3 done, I'm going to upload them to Story Origin because I like to wait and upload. Like if it's a trilogy, I like to wait and upload all 3 at once because in the romance world, people are binge listeners, as I think we both know. um, but when I do upload my audiobooks to Story Origin and I get that link to the books to review, not only do I share my newsletter, but what I also like to do is I like to go into the groups on Facebook. So there are groups that are like oral fixation. And then there's a review group that I set up for wide audiobook reviews only. So that we don't allow Audible links in there. So it's called Audiobook Review Haven by Indie Audiobook Deals, which Indie Audiobook Deals is the promo company I run for White Audiobooks. So it's a place where people can come in and they have the choice to for a couple of different options. And one of the options they can leave is a link to their audiobooks on Story Origin. So what I do is I go to the Story Origin homepage under audiobooks. I search my name, Rebecca Hefner. And if you go on there and you search your name, all of your audiobooks will populate. And I take that link, and that's the link that I populate so to send the reviewers to when I go in and post in these different groups of Facebook. So I've found that very successful. And I think the great thing, that way that you have it set up, and the great thing that's helped me is that because you allow all these wide links, is that when I give that link, I know that the people like being able to check out their Goodreads and their BookBub profiles, and to make sure that they're the type of reader that I want to read my book, is really, really important. That's something that is so key and so huge, because I decline a lot of people who request my audiobooks because they're just not the types of readers who I think would like my books. So
Yep.
anyway, that's a great way to like go into these different groups that allow you to leave codes and stuff like that. But instead of leaving codes, leave your story origin link. That's what's really worked for me. So
Yeah.
yeah, if there's anything else you want to touch on with that. Oh yeah.
I'll just show people how they would do that. So I go over here. I'm here for free ebooks or audiobooks. I would click audiobooks, and I already went ahead and typed Rebecca's name into this tab. So I just typed Rebecca Hefner into author, and then this is the link that she was talking about sharing. So you can just copy this link, and if I open this up in a new tab, it opens up to just the list of her audiobooks that are in that public directory. And so readers could explore all of the audiobooks there. Um, I'll go back to mentioning, as I mentioned before, you can also set up book collections. So if you wanted to, you could add a book collection here. And you could say it's for a series, or you could say it's an assortment, or what have you. And then for which of your books you want to add to this collection, let me select my author profile here. You could go through this list, and you could just add all of your audiobook review copies uh, and make a book collection that is for your audiobook review copies. And so that is just another way that you could send that link out to, you could post that link on the Facebook groups, um there's probably various subreddits where you can find reviewers as well and things along those lines, or just post that to social media. Where, or TikTok, or wherever else you're like trying to build an audience as well. So using that book collections would be another way to put those uh books, especially if you're like waiting to find reviewers until you have that series of books together. And that way a reader could really easily go, oh, books 1, 2, 3, like I'm going to request all of these in order, because they would see that super easily on that book collection page there.
Definitely. So now, can you talk a little bit about? So I have multiple pen names. So for me, I just have a different Story Origin account under each pen name, and I guess that there could be a concern that that could become a little expensive or what have you. But I think that's what you recommend. It's what works best for me. And when we talk about the pricing of Story Origin, I always tell people like it's I pay for it and I find it well worth it, just from the reviews I get alone. But maybe you could talk a little bit about authors who have multiple pen names, and a little bit about I don't know if you have different price plans or anything like that. So if you could talk a little bit about all of that and what you recommend and what your price plans are.
Yeah, sure. So Story Origin has two tiers. You can be on the free tier. That gives you access to some of the functionality, like creating universal book links or universal audiobook links are on the free tier. You can also use like the word count tracker, and do a couple of other things on that free tier. Now, when it comes to running cross promotions like arranging newsletter swaps, or putting up audiobook promo codes, or joining group promos, or building your author website, all that stuff is on the paid tier. And so that is $10 per month or $100 per year, which, when you compare it to the list of services that you would need to replicate everything that StoryOrigin does, is saving you a bucket of money. Like if you compare to StoryOrigin to like paying for a Shopify subscription, paying for a Bitly subscription, or using like free Bitly links. Like you can do this stuff on StoryOrigin too with your own custom branded links. Setting up reader magnets or review copies on these various other services. If you add all that stuff up, it's about $100 to $200 per month, depending on what tier of those other services you're paying for, and StoryOrigin does it for $10 a month. So you're saving a bucket of money there. Um, in regards to pen names, so StoryOrigin is designed to be used as one pen name per account. Um, and I will go quickly to the pricing page on StoryOrigin just so people can get a look. So if you go to the pricing page here, this is the list of all the features that are in the basic plan versus the standard plan, which is the one that is $10 per month or $100 per year. And then you'll see down here under this section, what about accounts under multiple pen names? The recommendation there is just, so if you have multiple pen names and you subscribe to the yearly plan on your first account, which is $100 per year, any additional accounts that you want to set up for other pen names that you personally write under, I will give you a 50% discount for. So you just shoot me an email and I'll send you a discount code, is basically how that works. And so, one pen name would be $100 per year, two pen names would be $150 per year, three pen names would end up costing you $200 per year. And pretty much no matter way you look at it, StoryOrigin is either like on par or substantially less than sort of doing this via other services and things. So StoryOrigin is always sort of price competitive in that regard. And then you can also just look at that that table of what's included again in those pricing tiers, the pricing buckets. This is just in a table layout. It's a little bit easier for some people.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I mean, I find it well worth it. I mean, I've used a lot of different services as an author, and I'm kind of like, yeah, I would rather pay a little bit to make my life easier. So that's sort of the way that I look at things, and anything that can make my life easier and help me, grow reviews and do all that stuff is important to me. So
Yeah.
um
And I also like to always add there as well, like there are lots of services from other for authors, like I mentioned, like that's sort of why I set out to build StoryOrigin. And you don't need to stop using those services if you want to use StoryOrigin too. Like if you were
right.
using another service and then you found out about StoryOrigin, you're like, oh, I can do this on Story, like I want to do this particular thing on StoryOrigin. You can use StoryOrigin for just that feature. You want to just distribute your audiobook promo codes and get reviews through StoryOrigin, like you can just use that feature if you want to, and that is like you said, like that for you is worth the subscription just for that individual
Yes.
feature, right? And so,
Yep.
so you don't have to use StoryOrigin for like the reader magnets or the newsletter swaps or the group promos or building your author website or all that stuff. You can still use whatever you're currently using for that stuff. And over time, if you choose like, oh, I'm going to start doing this stuff over on StoryOrigin just to simplify my life or whatever, that's fine too. But it's like, as long as you're getting ROI from those other services, whatever you're paying for them, as long as they're providing you more value than you're paying for them, or StoryOrigin is providing you more value than you're paying for it, like you can have multiple services that do similar things. So I don't, I always just sort of want to put the emphasis on, you don't have to get rid of other things or whatever. It's like you can also just be like, is this going to make me more than I spend, in terms of either my time or effort
Yeah.
on doing if I just get StoryOrigin as well.
Exactly, exactly. No, I agree. Yeah, whatever. We're also busy, so whatever can make our lives easier, for sure. So, my last two questions that people had asked me is, number one, what is your customer service like? And I know the answer to this because I've had this happen, but I'll let you answer it. It's very good, by the way. But when someone downloads a code and they can't figure it out, so that's number one. How do you handle that with the customer? And then my other question, and I'm just asking them both so I don't forget. My other question that a couple of people asked me was, there's a lot you could do with Story Origin. So do you have like tutorials, whether they're video tutorials or other things that people can access to see how to use all the different bells and whistles?
Yeah, so if a reviewer runs in if any reader or listener runs into any trouble on StoryOrigin, they can just reply to any, like usually like when they get accepted for your audiobook promo code, StoryOrigin will send them an email saying, hey, you've been accepted. You can go and download, you can go and get your promo code here or whatever, right? Um, if they have any trouble, they can reply to that email and like I will just help them out if they run into an issue, right? And I just say, oh, go here or do this or whatever. Likewise, if they run into a problem with the promo code, like this is a somewhat common occurrence. Authors will have like a spreadsheet because they had a spreadsheet and then they got on StoryOrigin and then they forgot, oh, I actually gave that code out to someone else before. And so they give that code to some listener on StoryOrigin, and the person's like, I can't redeem this code. On StoryOrigin, they can go and just hit report an issue, and they would say what the error code that they got from the download provider was. So if they got a Audible promo code or something, and the error they got was this code has already been redeemed, they would basically just report that error to StoryOrigin, and then that application would be reset back to pending, and then you could just approve them with a new promo code. That's usually how it goes. And then in terms of the other question, what was the other question?
Do you have any tutorials, whether they're video
Tutorials, right?
tutorials
Yes.
or like written tutorials of like where people can go to see all the bells and whistles and learn about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, storyoriginApp.com. If you want to learn about any of the individual features like that, I said that section there is really good. But you can also hit this tutorials tab on StoryOrigin, and you will find text guides there. These are in-depth guides to like building your mailing list, or how to get book reviews, or how to work with beta readers and collect feedback, or how to run newsletter swaps. And then you can find case studies that authors have written as well. And then you can find video tutorials on the various StoryOrigin features that will take you through, basically how to input all that, everything you need into a form to get set up. For the most part, StoryOrigin is really straightforward. So generally speaking, most authors I don't think look at the video tutorials because for the most part, it's just like I said, like if you wanted to build your mailing list, I would say just hit that build mailing list and it'll give you the checkbox of where to go and what to do. Like here we see create reader magnet. Now I've already completed that step, but basically it'd be like go to the reader magnet tab, hit add reader magnet, and then fill this form out and hit create. Like it's usually like as simple as go here and hit the button to add the thing and then fill out the form and you're done. So for the most part, most authors uh it's designed to be incredibly intuitive. Going back to what I was saying earlier, I've been doing this for quite a few years now, and I am both the engineer and I am the customer support. So when authors run into issues, or if I get a lot of questions about a particular thing, like how do I do this or how do I do that, I go, okay, I'm going to put my engineering hat on and I'm going to redesign how this feature works so that it is significantly easier so I get less questions about how to do it.
Yes,
And
I
so
love
so
it.
StoryOrigin's sort of been battle tested by thousands of authors over the years. So that it's designed to be super intuitive. And one of the other great things about it is like when you are on a page like here again, I'm like still on the reader magnets tab of my dashboard. I can just read at the top of this page, here's like what this feature is for, here's the link to the video tutorial, here's the in-depth guide that's related to this feature. And then I can also hit this show features and use cases drop down, and this will give me like the list of things that it does, and then like here's some example ways to use it. And so, yeah, you can go to the various features. Like I can go to the universal book links and I can see the video tutorial and read about what the point of it is. And again, like see features and use cases, all that stuff. So even if you don't go to that tutorials tab, all of this sort of support and help docs are baked into the various features as well. And I'll mention there as well as like if you do go and you hit add universal book link, like there's also on that form itself, like here's the related resources is, create a universal book link page. Um, Now some of them are have like more related resources. If it's about like running newsletter swaps, then there might be multiple related resources. Like here's how to create a universal book link if you want to arrange newsletter swaps for that, or here's, how to create a reader magnet, and then here's how to plan your campaigns out in those various related things. But yeah, so all that's sort of baked into StoryOrigin. But my email inbox is also always open. So if you ever run into trouble, you can always just send me an email. When you sign up to StoryOrigin, you'll get a welcome sequence from me that'll walk you through like some of the features of StoryOrigin. You can also reply to any of those emails. And then like I'm always very transparent about who I am, what I'm doing. So if you go to storyoriginApp.com and you just scroll literally to the bottom of the page, you'll see my face, you'll see my name, you'll see my email address. And you can always also just hit the contact link, storyoriginApp.com/contact. Again, you'll see my face, you'll see my name, you'll see my email address, all of that stuff there for you.
Love it. And so you said, so there's a free tier. So anyone watching this, and if I know we're going to have a lot of people who are watching the replay. So anyone watching this can just go and they can sign up for a free account, right? Any author watching
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, you can sign up for a free account if you want to check and see if like there are other authors that are in your genre that you want to cross promote with. Like if that's one of the main things that you're looking to do, you can create a free account and go just like browse what the upcoming cross promotions are available and all that stuff too.
And you integrate with most of the major mailing lists when people are doing these newsletter swaps, right?
Yeah, so for StoryOrigin is not an email service provider. Sometimes authors think, oh, like I arrange cross promotions on StoryOrigin. Like, where do I design and send my emails in StoryOrigin? StoryOrigin is not an email service provider, so you would still use something like MailerLite or Mailchimp or ActiveCampaign or ConvertKit or what have you to design and send your newsletters. And then you would come over to StoryOrigin to plan out like what dates you're gonna send your newsletters and arrange those cross promotions with other authors, and create like reader magnet landing pages where readers can sign up to join your mailing list, and StoryOrigin handles like the file delivery and all that stuff. And so, for example, with those reader magnet landing pages, you can integrate your email service provider with that reader magnet landing page so that when a reader signs up to get that free download, StoryOrigin will automatically send their name and email address straight to whatever email service provider and add it to whatever list that you want. StoryOrigin integrates with 9 different email service providers. If you are using an email service provider that StoryOrigin does not integrate with, it is not a problem. Using an integration with StoryOrigin is always optional. None of the features strictly require an integration. So, for example, if you're using that reader magnet feature to collect signups for your mailing list, you can always just download a CSV of the list of names and email addresses of people that have requested that reader magnet from you on StoryOrigin, take that file and just upload it to whatever email service provider you're using. So there are there are lots of email service providers out there, and some of them are pretty obscure. But yeah, so it does not matter. You could be using the world's most obscure email service provider. You can still use StoryOrigin.
Awesome. Okay, that's awesome. So yeah, so again, I'll just to close, thanks for Carol and Rebecca who joined us live. And I know I had so many authors message me like I'm not gonna be able to join live, but I'm really interested in this. So I will be reposting this in a bunch of different places on our Wide Audio YouTube channel and obviously in the Marketing Audiobooks Wide group so that people can go back and watch this afterward. But yeah, I'm a happy customer. I really love StoryOrigin. So I really do appreciate you taking the time to come and tell us all about it. And it has so many bells and whistles that I don't even use. I mean, that you've created something that has so many, great functions. So I really appreciate you walking everybody through it today.
Yeah, sure thing. And thanks again for having me on. And if anyone has any questions, again, feel free to reach out to me. You can always email me at evan@storyoriginApp.com.
Awesome. Thanks, Carol. Thanks, Rebecca. Yeah, you guys are awesome. Thanks. And I hope everybody has a good day. And thank you, Evan.
Alrighty. See y'all later.
Take care, everybody. Bye.